Hey everybody, welcome to another round of Learn Lightroom Live with Josh Baker. What's up, Bazulux Visuals? I'm really excited today. We're gonna have some fun stuff today. It's gonna be a lot of fun. We're gonna be talking Lightroom, and unbeknownst to me, when I scheduled this episode, Lightroom upgraded to version 10. My computer has, like, every software has updated today. So what I use to broadcast, what I used to use as a camera, Lightroom, everything just decided to go, you know what? Today's the day we're upgrading. So I hope y'all come along with us and upgrade what you can do with Lightroom. See that segue? What's up? Also, upgraded my clothes today. Look at this. New Azul merchandise. I'm still playing with it. I'm still figuring out what I like, but testing it. You'll see more about this next month, but I'm pretty excited. Got some new logos, got some new shirts, popping it off. I am very excited about this. Uh, what's up, Michelle? How you doing? What's up, Steven? How are y'all? Yeah. These updates are killing everybody. I know. It was weird. So they announced it Monday. They were like, "Hey, go ahead. It's time to update. Here's all the new stuff. Cool." And then last night I checked. I was like, "Huh, I haven't got the update yet." This morning I checked. I was like, "Man, I haven't got the update yet." Then about 10 a.m. it was like, "Hey, you have the update now." So I've been playing with it a little bit this afternoon. So now I'll be able to share that information with y'all. And hopefully kind of show you and demonstrate what some of the new things are. So we're going to be playing with two files today. If you are one of our Patreons, you're actually going to have the raw file to play with if you wanted to download it. I know, merch. What's up? See, Azulox. We have some other ones for the next episode of Josh Says Mean Things. We're gonna have a really funny one, so I hope y'all appreciate that. So, but anyway, yeah, if you're one of our Patreons, patreon.com/azulox, you actually get the raw file to play with. If not, you just get to learn for free. You get to learn for free on YouTube, where everybody learns everything about everything these days. So yeah, if you have questions about what we're doing, just throw them in the comments. I will kind of be flipping back and forth to check and see them. But we're going to be doing a live edit on a photo of my friend Miss Heidi, and then I'm going to display some of the new Lightroom stuff after that. Or do you want to do Lightroom first? We can talk Lightroom first. Let's talk Lightroom first. We'll talk Lightroom first. Let me jump over there real quick. What's up, Mia? Hey. See, Steven, it's another reason to shoot Canon, right? You know, you get all the cool updates. It actually is one of the reasons I shoot Canon, is that we get all the new stuff first. Every time there's a new feature, every time there's new software, every time there's new anything, Canon usually gets it first, and I like being first. So, yeah, let me flip over, and we can start seeing some of this stuff. All right. Boom. Okay, so we're gonna be editing this photo in a minute. But in the meantime, why don't we talk about some of the new things inside Lightroom? So we're gonna go to a different file. So this is actually a photo I took about 6 hours ago. I can tell you exactly how long I took it ago. I took it at 12:54 at Longhorn Caverns. We had a great time. Mia was there. Fun was had. I recommend it. Yeah. So let's talk about some of the new things. So part of the big structural update is that the GPU, which is your graphical processing unit, is now taking on a bigger and bigger role. For a long time, no matter how crazy a graphic card you had, Lightroom didn't really do anything with it. And then they added some of it, and now as monitors are getting more dense, they've started incorporating more GPU acceleration. So now it's sharing where your CPU doesn't have to do all the work. So that's kind of the first thing, is that, like, flipping between a photo should be faster. It should render the raw files faster, that sort of thing. Also, there's some new zooms that take advantage of the GPU. Let's take a look at what some of those zooms are real quick. One of them is cool. If you hold down the control key, I hope I'm doing this right. Let's see. If I hold down the control key, you can draw a box, and then it'll zoom to that box. Ooh, click out of it, right? So if we hold the control key and then we can just draw a box and it will zoom to that. Huh? Is that pretty cool? We just want to see that knife tip right there. Boom, knife tip. It was sharp, I was told. I didn't get stabbed, so that was good. Part of the new zoom is they also changed in the navigator over here. The navigator got updates from like fit and ratios to percentages. So now instead of it having like 1 to 1, 1 to 2, 1 to 3, 1 to 4, now it has percentages, which probably make it a little bit more easy to understand. And you don't have to do math in your head. What's 1 to 8? I don't know. It's 12.5%. There you go. I did the math for you. There is another zoom. It is called Scrubby Zoom. So if you hold the shift key, it kind of, you'll see the this little scrubby go, and then you can just click and drag your mouse, and you can drag in and out. Whoa. Yeah. Scrubby Zoom. So I'm holding shift key and then clicking and dragging left and right. Okay? Shift key, click, drag left and right. Woo! That's pretty cool. That's pretty cool. So those are some new of the zoom features. You know, I work on a very big, I work on a 27-inch monitor most of the time, but I could see this being really, really, really useful on my 14-inch laptop, where I kind of want to like pop into the details and check things. I can really see that being useful, especially on the smaller screens. Because of the big screen, I can see everything pretty well anyway, which is the advantage of shooting on a big screen. So yeah, I think on laptop, that's going to be a really, and my laptop has a GPU. So I think that's going to be very advantageous kind of all the way around. Now, those are just some of they're cool. They're good. The other kind of cool one, Canon, if you shoot Canon, you can actually see live view. So if you're shooting tethered with a Canon camera, and check, not all of them can do it, but the most recent ones can. If you have one of the more recent Canons, you can now see what the camera sees when you're tethered for live view, which is pretty awesome. I actually use live view quite a bit for product photography, and so I'm really happy for this because I can use, you know, my laptop screen when I'm out in the field shooting products and see what my camera sees while I'm tethered. That's really cool. I like that feature. And it's another great reason to shoot Canon. What's up? Come on, Canon, sponsor me. You know you want to. You know you want to. Yeah, and as Steven points out in the comments, yeah, and you can actually control focus and control the camera through all that. So you can change camera settings, you control focus points. So it's kind of like using, I don't know if you, for those who shoot Canon, but there's software that comes with it. Canon DPP, Digital Photo Professional. You could do all that inside of it, but then it was cumbersome because then you had to like, anyway, it was cumbersome. So this kind of does all of that inside Lightroom now. So yay, Team Canon. What's up? Awesome. Now, here's the big update to what, well, I think is the biggest update, especially for my type of work. The biggest update in Lightroom 10 is color grading. Okay. Now, they used to have kind of, okay. So this panel right here that says color grading, it used to say split toning. Okay. So split toning, you were able to control your highlights and your shadows, and you could add different colors to the highlights. You could add different colors to your shadows and then play with that balance. Okay. So instead, now we have, actually, this color grading comes directly from Premiere. So if you're a video editor, this will look very familiar to you. And I'm actually curious if you could import some of those lookup tables. That'd be interesting. I don't know that answer yet. But what this allows you to do is add colors to more specific areas of your photo. Okay. Now this photo that we're looking of Jordan here was shot with red light and a yellow light, and I switched my ambient to tungsten, and we were doing all kind of things. But I want to correct those colors a little bit. So let's you know what? Let's just get into this. Let's do a little bit of walkthrough of what color grading is. Let me go to full screen now. Y'all don't need to see me as I talk this one through because it's gonna be my eyes down anyway. So okay, so let's go full screen. Cool. All right. So photo Jordan, and I want it to make it feel cinematic. I will say color grading in general it is best to show restraint. It's very easy to go too far and really push these files over the edge. Okay, so the first thing I want to work on is our midtones. So what we have is 3 color wheels, and if you want to work on them independently, we can click on them up top. So we can adjust just the shadows, just the midtones, just the highlights if we want to work with a bigger wheel. Or if we want to see the relationship of all 3, we can click adjust that kind of bowling pin looking thing, and it'll go back to that. And just change our midtones as we drag around, okay, if we wanted to. But in this case, I always think it's helpful for me to say what I want. As I'm editing, it's one of the things I do. People think I'm crazy when I'm editing because I'm talking to myself most of the time. But in this case, I say, you know, I might want a little more warmth, maybe a little more orange in the midtones. So I'm just going to drag it just a little bit. We're just going to add just a little bit of orange, okay? Now, in this little circle, it's kind of hard to control. And so there are 2 modifier keys. One changes the rotation, right? So if we want to lock how far out from the circle we drug and just change the circle, I'm holding the control, okay? So my circle's not getting bigger, okay? I can also, once I lock into that value, I can hold shift and it won't drag anymore. It'll just go up or down. Okay, so I can go from 0 to 100 and then play just along that line without worrying about it dragging over. So if I do nothing, I have free control over where it goes. And then if I hold shift, it just goes along that axis. Okay, and then if I hold control, it'll just change that. So it'll have the same level but different colors. So one controls the level of color and one changes which color. Okay. So that's what we can do. So let's actually kind of work with it. Yeah, I would want to add a little bit. Ooh, this is acting wonky. I may need to restart there. So a little orange there. You know, let's add some more red. So I lit this to have red in the shadows. So let's add more red to the shadows. Okay. We're just going to drag it right along there. Cool. And then for the highlights, you know what? Let's add some more blue to the highlights. And we'll see if we like that. Maybe we don't. Maybe we want to go more yellow. Cool. And then I might come back to the midtones and just cool those down because I think they're a little warm now. Oh man, this widget is acting a little funny. Okay. So we're just playing with color grading, kind of gives it a different cinematic feel without changing our white balance. We haven't touched white balance, we haven't touched anything else. So if I hit the letter Y, it will show me a before and after just of what I've done with color grading. Oh, I did add it 4/10 of an exposure, okay? I did add a little exposure. So, yeah, living on the edge, I know. Trying just updated software on a live stream. What could go wrong? But this allows us to change these kind of color rendition. Okay. Now there's 2 more things on this. One is blending, and blending is the overlap between shadows and highlights. So we're just going to drag it and kind of see what blending does. We can drag it down and it'll blend less. We can go all the way up to the top and it's going to kind of blend in more. I kind of like this one actually with less blending, where we're just isolating individual colors where it doesn't try to smooth it in. Okay, if we take it to 100, it's going to try to kind of smooth everything in. If we take blending down, it's going to try to isolate highlights from the midtones from the shadows a little bit more. Okay, balance. If we go up in balance, it's going to skew toward the highlights, right? So, and our highlights are kind of more yellow. So if I go up in balance, it's going to skew yellow. Okay. And if I go down in balance, it's going to skew to the shadows. So my shadows I have red, so it's going to get redder. And in this case, I'd actually want to go skew toward maybe a little bit more yellow. I think that's looking a little bit more interesting there, don't y'all think? Yeah. So this is the big update for version 10 of Lightroom. I would guess that as the year goes on, they're going to be adding more not Canons. They're going to be adding more cameras for the live view feature. That would be my guess. I don't know that. I don't have any inside knowledge. But my guess would be that they're going to start adding that for other manufacturers as well. There's no reason that they can't. But that would be my guess. But the big update here is this color grading. Color grading is the new feature. They're pushing it out. A couple years ago, it showed up like this in Premiere, and now it's rolling out to the stills, right? So Lightroom and Photoshop, this is rolling out. But it did start kind of in the video world. It was actually one of the reasons that I liked Blackmagic's software, because it had this type of panel, and then Premiere used it, and now they're kind of bringing it through all their software so that it's all the same. So if you go from Lightroom to Photoshop to Premiere, it's all using the same tools. Yeah, Steven, I want to play with that neural filter. I haven't had a chance to open up Lightroom yet. Like I said, my computer was updating all day today, and then I drove out to burn it again twice in the last week to go shoot. We were shooting at Longhorn Caverns, and so I haven't had a chance to play with the new neural filter yet. Yeah, there's a lot of cool things. I did get asked today, what do you think AI is going to do? It's only going to make things easier, but I would also say that it's going to push things toward a commodified look. And so if you can if you can still have your own vision, I think AI may help you get there, but I don't think it's ever going to be the end result. I think it's just going to help you get to where you want to get faster. But I think it always comes down to having your own vision and using the tools to create your own look. Because with AI, I think it's going to commodify down to certain looks instead of being that person that breaks out from the noise. So, all right. All fun and games. Okay. So here is a before and after of this photo of Heidi. This is the raw file that our patrons got to download ahead of time so that they can play along with us. And I'm gonna turn this. So this is what it looked like straight out of camera. This is straight out of camera. And to me, this photo is very flat. It's uninteresting, and honestly, my eye doesn't necessarily know where to go. Okay, so let's just kind of go through and talk about what's wrong. Hey, Justin, what's up, man? Look at that. He interviews me for his photo class, and now we're showing up on our live stream. How you doing, man? All the way from Sacramento. All right. So there's a couple things that bother me about this photo. One, this corner right here, this corner edge. Can y'all see that? That's distracting to me. That should be vertical. That bothers me. I think the brightest part of the photo right here in the center is her leg. And so your eye goes here and not to her face. At some level, I'm a portrait photographer. The eye should go to the face. Unless you know exactly why they're not. But I think here they should go. And really the feel that I wanted was very like sun-drenched highlights. And very cool shadows. I think that's what I was going for. So this was not sunlight. This was my flashes working. The orange light was an orange gelled speed light. The blue was from a blue gelled speed light bounced into the wall. And so I really wanted to have these deep blue rich shadows. And I really want to have like these really fun, warm highlights. And it would give that nice cool. She's wearing kind of a blue dress, right? It's got kind of a blue dress. And then we have the gold and this tea set in front of us. And I just really wanted to play that. Really in my head, I wanted it to feel like it was right? It was like a tea lounge in Marrakesh, right? Like I just wanted it to feel warm and cool kind of all at the same time. And straight out of the camera, it just doesn't feel like that. Can we agree there? There's just some things that are slightly distracting, but I love this photo. I love her pose. This is literally in her house. Okay. This is just in a random house in Round Rock, Texas. But I think we can transform it into something other than that, with lighting and then finishing it up, in Lightroom. Okay. So, shooting the photo is just halfway, right? When we're out in the field, it's just data capture. And so this is just the raw file, right? This is the Adobe standard profile. Now, the first thing, Michelle, that's a great question. When I first saw that, did I think, oh no, not what I wanted? When I shot this, the back of the camera looked better. It always does, right? The back of the camera always looks great. I knew I was close, and I knew that I was close enough. I was happy with it when I was shooting it. And so, yeah, no, it felt good. No, I have certainly had that issue before. I have absolutely had that issue where I get home like that wasn't what I wanted at all. But in this one, I just really want to bring out kind of what's already there. So there's already some blue in the scene. But the first thing I want to talk about is profiles. Now, in some past episodes, we've talked about how to profile to get the correct colors, right? And I have that profile saved, right? 5D4 daylight, that's shot against our color checker passport. And we use the X-Rite software to generate our own camera profiles inside Lightroom. Highly recommend you doing that. But what if we want something not neutral and not correct? How can we take something and make it different? How can we take a file and make it feel more than correct? Because correct isn't always what we want, right? If we're shooting products, we're shooting cars, we're shooting houses, correct is probably what we want. If we're shooting a house in Round Rock that we don't want to look like a house in Round Rock, what do? Okay, so the first place that we always need to start is the profile. Okay, if we're shooting raw files, this is the first funnel that goes that the data goes through. Okay, this is the foundation of our photo, is the camera profile. So let's take a look at this browse menu. So if we go to browse, there's actually a bunch of profiles in here. Actually, I did do one as black and white, Justin. You're absolutely right. There is a whole bunch of presets that Adobe hid in the profile, and there's more than you see on the drop down. Now, if you want these to appear in your drop down menu, you just have to star them. Okay, so we have color, monochrome, landscape. Ooh, that's actually pretty close. Too red though. Neutral, standard, right? There's all of those that Adobe make. There's a whole bunch of camera matching ones, right? So if you shoot with a camera, right, it's got camera, landscape, or portrait, or standard, or neutral, or whatever, right? All of your cameras have different profiles, right? That might show up there. These profiles, 5D4 daylight, 5D4 Blanton, Marina, who's second shoots for me, these were all from shooting my color checker. So these are the ones I've generated myself. However, there is still a whole bunch more here. We have artistic. All right, so there's a whole bunch there. We have a whole bunch of black and white. Oh my gosh, look at all these different black and whites. Okay, so they're hidden. You would never know this if you didn't hit that one. And then there's this modern. Okay, so we have modern 1, modern 2, modern 3. And I actually really like this modern 4, and I've highlighted it. Okay, so I added it to my favorites. But there's a bunch. There's even a whole bunch of vintage ones. Okay, so they have created different looks and built all these presets without really ever telling anybody where they put them. And they're kind of hard to get to. But once you find one you like, all you have to do is hit the star button, and then it will show up in this drop down menu. Okay, anything you star will show up there. Okay. So for this one, we're actually going to go away from our correct and neutral 5D4 daylight. Okay. Now it looks pretty good. There's not much difference, but just go with me. So the foundation of this image is going to start with modern 04. I just like it. I like the way it looks. It pleases me. Is it right? I don't know. It looks good to me. Good enough. Okay, good enough. Now, the next thing I want to fix, because it really bothers me, is this angle here. I can't look at it. I walk into people's houses and I always fix their frames. I don't know. So I need my verticals vertical and I need my horizontals horizontal. It's just a compulsion with me. I have to do it. So the way we're going to do that, the first thing is I want to tell Lightroom what lens I shot this with. And so I want to enable chromatic aberration. Chromatic aberration is those like purple, green, pink fringing. You often might see it. Let's say, let's try our Scrubby Zoom. Let's see. Scrubby Zoom. If I turned it off, you might see it along these lines here, but you really might, and now we're going to try box zoom. You really might see it like in the corners. If I turn it off, you might see it along the corners here. I don't see any right now. I was shooting at 5.6, so you're not going to get a whole lot. But if you're shooting with some big apertures, you might see that kind of fringing is what people call it. And removing chromatic aberration is what gets rid of that. Okay. So I don't want it to fix vignetting because it adds exposure to the corners, and I actually probably want to add darkness to the corners. So I don't want to do vignetting for me. But I do want it to fix distortion. So watch as the shape of the image changes. As I click and unclick the file, the center just kind of changes slightly. Okay. It's not a big change. I was shooting kind of in the middle of a zoom at 5.6, so there's not a big change. But you'll see it a lot, like with wide angles, that the geometry of the lens will change. So I just want to make sure the geometry is correct. And so then what I want to come down to is transform. So I told it what lens I was shooting with. Now we're going to go to transform and go to guided. Okay, I love guided, and what this allows me to do is draw that line. Okay, so I'm just going to go right to the corner of the line, draw it down, and I can draw that angle, and then I'm going to find any other angle that I want, and I'm just going to draw a straight line basically here, and I'm just going to kind of eyeball it, and then it's going to fix that right one over there for me. Okay, and then I put my tool away, and now we have a straight enough angle on the right. Okay, so I fixed my geometry. I shouldn't have used a photo that was so good, you know, but I think this is instructive. And the reason I picked this photo is that I actually struggled with how to bring out, like, I feel like it's a good image, but I felt like it took it to another level when I was done editing it, and I don't always feel that way. I try so hard to get it right in camera, and a lot of times I do. In this case, I thought I got it close, but I wasn't all the way there. Okay, so I want to show you how to get all the way there, because that's a question I get asked a lot. So we're pretty good on geometry. We're good on our lens. So let's go back up to the top. Okay, so now we're back in our basic panel. Okay, now in this case, you know, so let's just get kind of our basic exposure. I want a little bit more exposure here, and I'm looking at her face specifically. We'll fix the rest. So I want it a little bit brighter on her cheek. There we go, +4/10 of a stop. That's pretty close. Let's see what +3 looks like. Yeah, we'll go with +3. And so I'm just looking at her cheek right here, and that's what I'm adjusting my exposure for. This is getting really bright, and I don't like that, and we'll fix it in a minute. But in this case, I'm just looking right there. Okay. I don't maybe add a little contrast, maybe +10. So what contrast does is it pushes the data out to the side. If we're adding contrast, it takes our highlights and makes them whites, takes our shadows and makes them blacks. Okay, so it just pushes data out, and then our midtone is our continental divide. If it falls on the brighter side, it gets pushed to white. If it falls on the darker side, it gets pushed to black. Conversely, if we do negative contrast, it pushes everything to the center. Can also be useful. Okay, and so I'm kind of looking at my histogram up here. I'm going to take my whites, and I'm just going to bring them up just to the edge. Okay, just to the edge of my exposure, maybe +20. Okay, see how it's just right there at the edge now. Okay, and then blacks, I have a little bit of black clipping right there. You know what, and a little bit in the shoe. That's great. That's a great place to be. And then what I'm going to do is just bring up the shadows. And what the shadows are going to do, it's going to bring up her shadow side of her cheek. Okay, so we're going to add some exposure to the shadow side of her cheek. Not a whole bunch, maybe +20. Then let's take the highlights and bring them down just a little bit, maybe like -5. Just a little bit. And I don't really need to do anything with the blacks, because my blacks are I already have just enough black point. It's just there. Okay, I don't want my blacks to look like that. All right, that's too many. If I go to print it, that's not going to print well. Okay, so just 0. And remember, if you want to get to 0, you can just double click the word and it'll go back to 0. So if you've made adjustments and you want to get back to 0, just double click the word and it goes back to 0. Hot tip. Okay, so before we do more toning, I'm just going to add a little more vibrance. Let's really boost its colors. Let's go to +20 on vibrance. Typically, I don't like using saturation. I almost never use the saturation slider. I just don't think it looks good. But that's me. Okay. So things are looking better. So if we hit the letter Y, we can kind of, well, that doesn't give me because I copied it over. That's where we're going to end up. But we usually, if you hit the letter Y, you can see where you started from and where you're going. So for me, that's always just a sanity check. Okay. So Y for me is always a sanity check just to see how my edits are going. All right. Letter Y shows before and after. Okay. Now I'm actually kind of conflicted because normally what I had been doing before Lightroom just updated, I use my HSL panel a bunch. But now I may be playing with color grading more. I don't want to mess with it today because that's not how I did it originally. So let's just take a look at HSL, and I use Luminance. So here's what Luminance is. Luminance says I can make individual color channels brighter or darker. Cool. This wall, I wanted blue, and it's not. It's a little too bright. So all I need to do to make this wall darker blue, I'm going to click on the little dot next to the word Luminance. I'm going to drag it into my scene. I'm going to click and drag down, and I'm going to make all my blues darker. Cool, right? We like that. Okay. So anything that's in the blue, the aqua blue or purple is going to go darker. Okay. Can y'all see that? That's nice. So I'm already liking that. I already like how it's affecting here. Okay. Then what I'm going to do, I'm going to go to her cheek, and we're going to have our luminance here, and we're just going to raise the value of the oranges. So I'm just dragging it over and just very slowly raising up the values of red, orange, and maybe a little yellow. So we're making all of those just a little bit brighter. Okay. So this allows me to individually, without having to do layer masking in Photoshop and all of that, very quickly raise the different color levels, and it gives me relative color level brightnesses. Okay. Yeah, this is a hot tip. I know. I love this part. What's up, Jim? Glad you could join us. All right. So the other thing we might want to do, I feel like this red, well, we could also change our white balance. So in this case, it was shot at 4400 basically. I feel like there's a little too much red in the scene, so let's get rid of the red. Yeah, kind of make it a little more teal. Digging that. If we warmed it up, maybe a little too warm. And that looks about right. So we're not going to change our white balance too much, 4400. Okay. So we can go to our hue, and what we can do with our hue is shift our oranges to be more red or to be more orange. We can shift our oranges to be, or our yellows to be more orange or more green. We can take our blues and make them more green or more purple. Okay. And again, we can just click on the little dot next to the word hue, and we can just see what happens. So maybe I want to take this kind of aqua and make it more blue or more purple, right? So we can shift that around, and it's just changing. Look at her leg. I want you to look at her knee. That isn't changing at all. All that's changing is the hue of just that color channel. Okay. Just that color channel. All right. And so now her blues are more blue, and I like that. I like that. So we took this kind of like teal and made it bluer. Okay. We could also go to her face here that's kind of got some red in it. And let's just see. So we can click and drag. We could have more red, or we can make it a little bit more yellow. Not a lot, but just a little bit. And I think that changes the color balance of it. Again, studying color theory, so important. Okay, so this is looking closer. Our oranges are a little bit more pleasing. I think our blues are a little bit more. We can also come into the saturation and do the same thing. So this is why I don't use global saturation, because I might want to come in and use just very specific saturation. Okay, so in this case, I want to make this blue wall more saturated and really like bring the blues in. So I just clicked and dragged up to add more, and I'm just going to click and drag a little bit more in the aqua. Okay. And so now our blue channels are more saturated. I could, if I wanted to, desaturate my reds or my oranges, right? I could make those black and white. Fast selective color. Don't do this. But I could. Okay. I could also just click and drag. I may think it's red, but when I click and drag, right, it actually shows up as magenta. Oh, I wouldn't have guessed that. Right. So we can individually adjust color saturation as well. Again, if we want it to go to 0, we can just double click the word. It goes to 0. All right, how are we feeling so far? Feeling good? Feeling good. Now, that's kind of that. Those are a lot of global adjustments. Okay, so what we've done so far is a global adjustment. By global, I mean it takes effect everywhere. Right, it's taken effect all the way across this photo. So let's start adding some localized adjustments to really bring out this photo. And this is where we would use the radial brush and the gradient brush to great success. So for me, this side of the wall over here is too much. Okay, it needs to be darker. There's too much hitting this right side. So let's take our gradient brush. Okay, we're gonna make it colder. Right, so negative temperature. Right, negative temperature makes it colder. And then I want the highlights to come down. Okay, so I want my highlights on this side to come down. I'm just gonna click and drag down. Ooh, now look at that. That blue is really looking good now. And I'm just gonna darken my exposure just a touch. Okay, now we kind of have a warm side of the photo and a cool side of the photo. Okay, warm side of the photo, cool side of the photo. I might also want to come back and add another gradient where we're going to add some more warmth into my left-hand side. So let's go back to temp. Let's add, I don't know, maybe +10 for our orange. And then maybe just a little bit more exposure. I like +2. Again, not big adjustments, but they make a big difference. Okay. So I just really want that warmth to feel like it's just leaching in, right? It's just kind of leaching in. But see how just that little adjustment, +10 warmth and +2, 0.2 exposure, that really makes it feel like that sun is just really coming in through. Okay. So now look at the wall. The wall has this transition from warm to cool. So already we're telling the viewer that there's contrast in our colors. We also have contrast in from our highlights to our shadows, right? So we have an exposure contrast, we have a color contrast. We're working on a lot of different angles now. Okay, all good stuff. Yeah, that's looking good. Now the other thing I might do is add a radial, and I use my radial brush quite a bit. Ooh, are we having some buffering issues? Yay, neighborhood internet outage. So in this case, like a third of a stop as just a way to dodge and burn. So I'm going to just hit inverts so that the area inside the circle, and I'm just going to draw kind of around her face to just open up the exposure around her face. Okay. Boom. And then I'm going to come back and take care of this knee that had been bothering me. So I'm going to do the opposite. I'm going to subtract exposure from her. Ooh, my graphic card is not happy with me right now. This is what happens when you use new software that just got released today. So yeah, we're going to use negative exposure, maybe -1/3 again, just a little bit, and then draw over that knee just because I think it's a little distracting. Okay, so just right over that. There we go. Now it's not so peaked. Okay, great. And we'll adjust it just a little bit. Cool. All right, how we feeling? How are we liking these edits so far? Is it making sense? Are y'all able to follow along? Ooh, had to take a little tea break there. Okay, let's see how our stream is doing. Oh, that's supposed to be the chat box right there. Huh. Well, all right. So yeah, I don't think this photo's quite done. There's still some things I would tone up. So if I were to zoom in, I would use spot healing to take off some of those welts and just little things to finish up. See, now that's not distracting now. Looks great. Michelle says, "Oh, Austin, thanks. Looking great." Yeah, you know, I'm kind of tempted to see what we can do with the color grading tool on this thing file. I do think some of this at the top with the circle by the slider. Yeah, so that's just using the HSL panel to you could just type in the numbers too. But this little dot next to the words in the HSL panel allows you to click in the photo. Because a lot of times I think a photo or I think an area is one color, especially like foliage. I'm like, oh, that's green because trees are green. And then really it's orange and yellow. You're like, great. I would never have guessed that. So a lot of times I'll just kind of click and drag them just to see what adjusts and then come back. Yeah, I want to try this with color grading. Let's try this with color grading. I'm just curious now. So what we're going to do, I say real quick, my computer's hating me right now. Let's create a virtual copy, which just means a new version of the same raw file. Okay. And then we're going to reset this. Okay, so I'm selecting version 3 of this file, and we're just going to reset everything. So everything we've done, we're going to reset. Oh, the color grading panel, Michelle, is that what you're talking about? All right, so this took us all the way back to 0. So all I'm going to do, I'm not going to change anything else except just a little exposure. Let's just go 0.5. We'll start from there, and let's just see what we can do, and I'll stay with the correct. So this may be a new way to go about this, and I haven't tried this on this photo, so let's just see what happens. So just half an exposure up. We're going to be on the correct profile, and let's just see what we can do with the color grading. Let's see if that's something that we can try, because I don't know, maybe it might work. I had a tendency to over split tone things when I first started out, so I'm a little bit hesitant to be color grading because, yeah, I never know which way that's going to be. Yes, color grading. All right. The dot, man. I know, the dot's awesome. You know, Lightroom has a lot of features like this where if you didn't know it was there, I don't know that you would. There's no way to discover some of the new tools. Like, there's still things that people tell me, like, oh, you can just do that. I'm like, I had no idea you could do that. There's no, like, way. It never told me, or it told me once, and I forgot it 5 years ago. So that's kind of one of the crazy things about Lightroom is that there's just some things that it does that, man, who knows? Who knows how it got to where it is? All right, so I tend to start with midtones. So in this case, I'm going to say I want a little less red in the midtones. I just feel like the orange is a little too red. So I'm going to drag opposite of red. Okay, just a little bit. All right, that's cool. Digging that. In my highlights, okay, my highlights I want to be more orange, okay, right? Because I want my highlights to be this. So I'm just going to say highlights. Let's go to orange, okay, and let's bring them in there. Let's make them orangey. And then my shadows, can we guess what color? Can we guess what color we want in our shadows? Right, because I lit it this way too. I'm gonna want blue in my shadows, right? Because I literally lit to have blue in my shadows. Ooh, okay, okay, digging it, digging it. So this is where I would think blending is gonna come in. I actually want less blending than more. Because I want each color channel to be its own unique, and then I want to skew this toward my highlights a little bit. Maybe not. I kind of like it better when it's all blue. All right, so then I might come back. So this is kind of where, right, control around that ring. I have the value of color I want, but I don't know what color. I can just go around in circles till I find what looks right. I like it better there. So that's adding yellow and green to it. I'm going to leave it alone. Right? So it's kind of give and take. Orange, I'm going to add more orange. So I'm going to hit shift. I want that color. I'm just going to add more of it. So holding shift will do that. Cool. And then blues, I'm just going to free drag the blues. Oh. That's too much. Too much magenta. Okay. All right, I just need more contrast in the photo because now I think it's a little too flat. Let's add some contrast. Nope, too much. Let's go to 40 and then add shadows. Boom. And let's just do a big negative gradient on everything but her face. Take down my highlights. Very, very different feel. And then let's add a big, I have a tool called Sunburst Grad. I love this. So it's plus 25 warm, plus 2 exposure, plus 30 highlights. So I'm just going to use this as a linear filter. Start from the corner and just drag down. Ooh. And then I have another one called Ice Grad. And it's minus 20 temperature. And minus 0.1 exposure. I'm just going to drag that across to add more blues. Ooh. I don't know. Different edit, but can we see that this has a mood now? Right? This has a much different feel than where we started. It's easy to go overboard with this, I think. But now look that your eye goes to her right eye. And up to her hand instead of to her knee. So by changing, by dodging, and essentially by dodging and burning, we're drawing the eye to the warmer, brighter side. And we're saying, hey, that cooler, darker side, don't worry about. If you want to look there, fine. But I want your eye to come up versus to go away from her face. And that's really what we're trying to do. So your eye's going to go to warm and bright. And it's not immediately going to go to cool and dark, right? So this is kind of an easy way to do it. I need to play with the color grading more. It's been a while since I've done that. It literally just came out today. Give me a little bit. But I think it's good to kind of see what's out there with it. Yeah. Yeah, so y'all should have the file. If anybody wants my original preset that I created. So here was the one I was really happy with. And I was trying to recreate it, but oh man, whew, computer. I need to restart Lightroom. It is not happy. We'll do that some other time. But if anybody wants the original preset, email me and I'll send you my original preset for this photo. So now you'll have the raw file and the preset and you can see exactly what I did the first time. So this is the original one. I kind of like this toning a little bit more. I spent a long time on this. So, and then I took it into Photoshop and ran Portrait Pro to smooth out the skin. But I'm not going to do that right now because my computer's already hating me. So no. Okay, questions, right? How are we? How are we? Let's go back. How are we? We good? We good out there today? We good out there in Lightroom? We good out there in YouTube land today? What's up? So again, if you're one of our patrons, you get to access to the file. And if you send me a message somehow, let me know. And I will also send you the preset that you can install on your own Lightroom machine. And you can just literally do exactly what I did. And then you can use it for other photos. Also, look at that. I'm so excited. Shirts. So if there's questions, I'll take them now. I appreciate y'all joining me. Oh, in 2 weeks, we're going to be doing our next episode of Josh Says Mean Things. So get your photos in so I can start figuring out what mean things I'm going to say about them. And I would also ask if y'all want to do this type of thing again. I'm happy to do it with my own photos. But if anybody's brave enough to volunteer, I will happily do an edit from raw to finished on one of your photos. As a Lightroom Live, we'll go through and just see what happens. Okay? Y'all want to try that? Okay? We're going to have to share it around to the patrons, but let me know. Let me know. If somebody wants to do it, message me and we'll figure it out. But I was thinking that might be a cool thing, right? Take a raw file and go all the way through full edit and just kind of see where it can go for you. Where it can go. Because I think a lot of times we take photos like, man, that's a good photo, but I don't know how to get the most out of it. Send it to me maybe, and that'll be one of our episodes of Learn Lightroom Live. Steven says I have 10,000. Yeah, the sunburst thing is neat. Yeah, plus 25 warm, like basically 25, 25, 25. So 25 warm, 0.25 exposure, zero point 0.2 plus 25 highlights. And that's going to give you that kind of warmth. It's great for creating, like you do family portraits and you want to make it feel like the sun's coming through the trees. You can just drag it on around. Yeah, I love that one. I actually got that one from Matt Kliskowski like 10 years ago. I don't know, 8 or 9 years ago. I've used it forever, since Lightroom 3, I think. So I'm always having to recreate that one. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, but I need the raw, y'all. So just so you know, I need a raw file. So send it to me or figure out, because that probably won't be able to be emailed because they're going to be big. But if anybody wants to, I'm down for doing a live edit of a photo that I've never seen before. We'll just dance right on that pinhead and see what happens. So yeah. Well, this has been great. I hope y'all. Oh, and then how to create a preset. Haha, I probably should have told you that as we try to create a mood, right? So if we wanted to save this as a preset, right, we did all this work to create this. If we wanted to use it again, right, just go to the preset, go to plus, create preset. And then you can pick all of these or none of these or just a couple of these categories. Here is one trick though. This transform tool, instead of saving it defaults to saving the transform adjustments, have it save the upright mode. Okay, this is going to save you a lot of headaches down the line. Okay, but I would unclick upright transform and click upright mode. That way, if you click auto align every photo, it will auto. If you do the transform, it's going to do the first one and then apply them to all the rest. You don't want that. So I would save the upright mode, not the upright transform. Cool. And then we hit create. You can also then import presets. Now they've made it easier to manage presets. So if that drop down, it says manage presets and import presets. And so the one I give you import, and you just point it to there and it'll be ready to go. That's all you have to do. Hit import, boom, load up the file, you're ready. Okay. Okay. Any other questions for today? Anything else we can help y'all with? Internet's being very strange in my house. I have gigabit Ethernet, and you would think, and I'm wired in. I don't know why it's buffering, but my computer is saying mean things to me. Ha ha! I did it. Booyah! Got it. Got him. Got him. Yeah, my computer's saying mean things to me right now. It does not like the fact that I'm trying to stream with new software, and I haven't restarted my computer after installing like 5 pieces of software today. Yeah. Scott, yes, 25 warm, 25 hot. Yeah, let me show that to you one more time, Scott. That's a great question. All right, so it is this preset right here for our radiant. So the brush, the radial, and the linear all use the same pool of presets. And so I have one called Sunburst Grad. That's just what I call it. It's not like an official thing. And so what it is, on temp, it's plus 25. In this case, it's 0.2 exposure and plus 30 highlights. You could also, it would be about the same if you did 0.25 exposure and 25 highlights. I don't know. They're about the same. So 25, 25, 25 on warming up, on exposure, and highlights. And that is what this one is right here. I will delete it and then do it again. So I'm going to delete that pin. And you're going to see the warmth go away from the corner. Okay. And so I have all this saved. Oh, haha, I'm not showing it to you. Let's try that again. Let's try that again. I'm sorry. Too many things. All right. Sorry, Scott. Let me try that one more time. Let me try that one more time where you can actually see what I'm doing. Okay. So on this photo, Sunburst Grad is plus 25 temperature, 0.2 exposure, plus 30 highlight. I'm just going to click from the corner and drag. And it's going to drag in that warmth and brightness in from the corner. And that's a great one. And then if you want to save it, right, you just click on it again, save current setting as new preset. Yeah, sorry about that for not bringing up the screen. I have 2 screens and I need 3. I need one more. Does that answer that question of like what that was? Yeah, I know. I got it. Sorry. 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 I know. I know. Um, I did break the internet. Oh. So, Scott, did I get that? Sorry. One more time. Plus 25 temp, point 0.2 exposure, plus 25. Now, it'll also show up in your radial tool. It'll also show up in your brush tool. The brush, the radial, and the linear all share the same preset pool. Yeah, yeah, great, Scott. Thanks. Yeah, I appreciate it. I appreciate it. All right, well, I think that's about it. My computer's saying mean things to me. So if you have questions or if you want me to do a Lightroom Live, I don't know what we're going to, send me what you want to do for the next Lightroom Live. We'll do that in November. I'm not sure what we're going to do, but I kind of like going through those photos live. It's a fun challenge. So yeah, if you want to do that, send me a file and we'll figure that one out. But our next live stream will be in 2 weeks, in 2 Tuesdays. And we're going to be doing Say Mean Things. So if you're one of our patrons, which you all guys are awesome, then send us your mean things files and we will say mean things about them. Otherwise, I hope everybody has a wonderful evening. Thanks for joining us and we'll see y'all next time.